So, as you can see, something pretty interesting. I've been shooting over the Chrony again, shooting the particular photos that were just posted, and the velocities were with the KTHPA. But what I noticed, I decided to shoot the lightest pellet that I had, which are RWS Hobby wad cutter pellets at 11.9 grain. But if you notice, from the first shot to the second shot, there's actually, there was a full fill, 15 MPa. There was a slight increase in velocity to the second shot compared to the first shot. I topped it off again and switched to a slightly heavier pellet, the Crossman Premier Hollow Points at 14.3 grain, but saw the same thing. An increase in velocity for the second shot versus the first shot. And what I think I'm seeing as far as the KTHPA goes is that full fill, that 15 MPa, is probably the very upper threshold of the hammer being able to open up the valve. There's enough pressure there where I think actually after that first shot and some of the air and the pressure goes down in the valve, you know, probably about 14.5 MPa, it's easier for the hammer to open up the valve. It actually gives a bigger volume of air versus 15 MPa. And that's why I'm seeing a increase in velocity from a second shot versus the first shot after topping off the tank on the gun. That was one of the interesting things. Another interesting thing I decided to do, what I was hoping was that I could set up the Caldwell and get some consistent numbers. Unfortunately, I did. I wanted to test out the velocity numbers I was getting on the Chrony chronograph versus the Caldwell. I already had limited experience having compared the two previously, but I just got a lot of error readings from the Caldwell. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case this time, and it wasn't. I wanted to shoot a gun that I was not going to be concerned about CO2 discharge over the chronographs. I wanted it to be fairly easy to repeat shots, and that's why I didn't go with a pumper. But I also wanted to try out, up to this point, I quite honestly believe I haven't shot anything but a 22 caliber pellet over the chronographs, the Chrony chronograph anyway. So I wanted to try a different caliber. So I went with the Hatsan break barrel supercharger pistol that I have. It would allow for easy follow-up shots. Testing out the chronographs with a 177 pellet versus a 22. I'm going to show some of the numbers now that I was getting from the Hatsan supercharger pistol. As you can see from the very short videos, the supercharger pistol, I was able to get consistent readings. Actually, I didn't get any error readings. All I did was set the Caldwell chronograph on top of the Chrony chronograph and shot over it that way, thinking the light setup was a good setup for the Chrony chronograph, and it seemed to also be a good setup for the Caldwell. Didn't get any error readings. But with that said, you could definitely see that the Caldwell gives consistently higher velocity readings than the Chrony chronograph. Not by a whole lot, but definitely it's there. Good velocity numbers, but definitely higher velocity numbers from the Caldwell versus the Chrony chronograph. Now, I did go back and I grabbed the KT-HPA once again, since I had a good idea up to this point of what I should see as far as the two chronographs compared to each other. I was interested in seeing exactly what would happen, knowing that the Caldwell was set up in a position to give me good readings, consistent readings anyway. I went back to the KT-HPA and fired a couple of shots over the chronograph, the Caldwell chronograph. Let's show those numbers. The last thing I did was go back and repeat the process over the Chrony chronograph with the KT-HPA. These are all with 14.3 grain Crossman Premier hollow points. See, it's consistent as far as the Caldwell giving me higher velocity number. I went back after I wanted to eliminate the fact that after each shot is fired over whichever chronograph, it really doesn't matter, the pressure drops in the valve for the KT-HPA. So there were two shots fired over the Chrony chronograph there, and then I went back. The last one, as you could see, the velocity still, even with lower pressure, shot over the Caldwell, gave me a higher reading than what I just got over the Chrony chronograph. So there is some difference. It's not a great deal. I have a range now that I can summarize my velocities with. You know, it's probably shooting, I would guess, somewhere in between what the Caldwell is saying and what the Chrony is saying. It's interesting. It's got me thinking about, you know, is one more accurate than the other? And if so, which one is the one that is giving me the more accurate velocity readings? I'm just interested in thinking of a way that I can accurately summarize and know which one is giving me the more accurate velocity reading. So I'm going to do some thinking about that, probably make another video. You did get to see, once again, haven't pulled this one out in a while since the last video I made on it, the Hatsan Supercharger pistol. This thing is a powerhouse for a break barrel pistol. KTHPA is still performing nicely. As you can see from the velocities with the 14.3 Crossmans, still spitting out at or over 20 foot-pounds of energy on each shot. So, thanks for checking out this video. Gonna do some thinking about how to prove out which one of these chronographs is giving me a more accurate velocity reading. And if I can think of anything, I will let you guys know. Thanks for checking it out. Guys, stay safe and shoot safe.